error message up in the top corner. Oh, is that what it says? Okay. All right. Thank you. Yeah. I don't have another class till the 13th, so.
How young do they accept for the CPR classes?
Oh, she has children's classes, so there's no age. Yeah. You're welcome. Good morning. I think everybody should have CPR training. Yeah. Yeah, that's important. All right. Good morning. Good morning. Happy graduation day and happy October. Does anyone have any last minute questions before we get started today? Anything you need me to go over? Any questions? No? All right. Those of you joining us virtually, if you have any questions, please drop them in the chat. Let me go ahead and get your score for chapter 10. Kaylee? I need 5 through 10.
890, 795, 600, and 500.
Thank you. Annalise? Thank you. Nicole?
Chapter 10?
Yep.
100.
Thank you. Candace? David?
I got 100 on all three.
Thank you. Good morning. Renisha? Yep, 100. Thank you. Michaela? Thank you. Jacob? Oriana?
I didn't do that one, but the other ones, I got 100.
Okay, thank you. Julie?
100.
Thank you. Elizabeth? Thank you. Russell? Thank you. Finley? Gabriella? 95. Thank you. Isabella? Okay, Isabella, from you, I need everything but 5 and 6, actually.
Okay, so on 9, I got 100. 8, I got a 95. 7, I got 100. 4, a 95. 3, 100. 2, 95. And the first one, 100.
Perfect. Thank you so much. Medina. All right. Good job. How do you feel that class went for you guys? Do you feel that you learned anything while you were here?
I was taking another CNA class, and this was better than my previous.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. This class isn't about me. It has never been about me. It's about you. Now, you're probably not confident yet for the test, but there's nothing more I can do to help make you confident. At this point, it's going to be all you. You're going to need to practice, but we're not leaving you because you still have the book with step-by-step instructions. You have the online course that has a lot of videos and help understanding why certain steps are important. You have the skills videos that show you how to do the steps. And then if you are not able to practice at home and you want to come in here and practice, you'll have to let Jake know what day and what time, either next Monday or next Wednesday, a specific time. And you'll be able to practice in here. We're going to try this out. You guys are the first ones we're going to try this on. And I'll have Jake make up a sign in or sign up sheet for practice time. But remember that you have, the ability to practice these skills anywhere because you've got the step-by-step instructions. Okay. Is anybody overwhelmed, completely uncomfortable, feel like you just can't move forward from this point? Does anybody feel that way? If you do, please come see me after class, because I'd hate to see you waste this time and money and not move forward. Okay. So please make sure you let me know. All right. So today, if you have not registered for the test yet, what are you waiting for? Your confidence is not going to increase at all beyond this point. You need to register. And I've seen this a million times. People will take the class. They don't register for the test because they're just not feeling like they're quite ready. And guys, the holidays are coming up, right? So you're going to get distracted. And before you know it, it's going to be the beginning of the year. And you're going to be sitting there going, oh, I really got to register for the test, but now I don't really remember what I learned. So remember that you have the live streams. You can rewatch your exact class and gain that information again, but you're definitely not going to be as confident as you are right now. The further away you get from class, the less confident you become. And although I really liked having all of you in class, I don't want you back. I want you to test and move forward with your career goals. Okay? Does that sound fair? However, if you need a refresher and you do re-register, I will welcome you with open arms. But you should have enough resources that you should be able to refresh without coming back to class. All right. Let's talk about what happens after the test. So today is all about after we test and once we get certified. Now, I know Chapter 10 covered some of this for you, but there are some things that Chapter 10 did not tell you that I think is important for you to know. And that's what we're going to focus on today. So this is going to be on page 171 of your book. Once you get certified, you're going to have to renew your certification at a specific interval. Now, it's not the first one. The first renewal is not going to be a full 2 years because the renewal is not based on your anniversary. Okay, so if you get certified on October 28th, your certification isn't going to expire on October 28th. It doesn't work like that. You are going to join a group already in progress. So it's important that you kind of understand this. All CNA certifications expire on May 31st. But there are hundreds of thousands of CNAs in Florida. So that's a whole lot of CNAs to renew all at one time. So they actually split you into 2 groups. Half of the people in Florida, half of the CNAs expire on odd years. The other half expire on even years. That way we don't have every CNA expiring on the exact same day. They split them into 2 groups. Now, I have no idea which group you are going to be assigned to because it has absolutely nothing to do with when you are certified. Nothing. I actually suspect, because it has to do with something that cannot change. It's tied to you specifically. And I don't have confirmation on this, but I suspect that it's tied to your Social Security number. So, and the reason this is important is that CNAs often get certified and then they let themselves lapse, go do something else for a while, and then they realize, hey, the money was good. So they go get recertified, and then they work for a couple years and let their certification lapse, and then they get recertified. You have your same CNA number throughout all of that. Once you get a CNA number, that is your CNA number for the rest of your life. Now, whether you're active or not will depend on whether you renew on time. Does that make sense? Everybody understand that? And I suspect that your renewal period is tied to either your Social Security number or your CNA number. I'm not sure which one, but it's something that does not change. It's an aspect of your certification that does not change. So that means that you might be even year and you might be odd year and you might be odd year and you might be odd year, but you're even year. Okay. It's not, you won't be able to predict this. Now, we're in October. And if CNA certifications expire May 31st, half in odd years, half in even years, that means for some of you, your certification is going to expire in 6 months or 8 months. Sorry, 8 months. So it would be May 31st of 2026. So we have October, depending on when you get certified, but let's just go November, December, January, February, March, April, May. 7 months. Others are going to expire May 31st of 2027. Now, I used to have I have a video. You can see there's a video clapboard there, but I'm not going to show you that video. You're the first class I'm not showing that video to. It's on my website. You can go watch it if you want to, but the information in there is a little outdated. I've got to update it. That's why I'm not going to show it to you, and I'm just going to talk about it. You used to get a blue card in the mail, a certification card, when you got certified. And they stopped doing that this year. They are no longer sending certification cards. Everything is now electronic. So you're not going to get any sort of a certification card that you can show or keep or look at your expiration date on. You're going to have to go to the MQA portal. Now, MQA is Medical Quality Assurance. This is the database of all healthcare providers in Florida. So once you get past the test, give it 3 or 4 days. And then you're going to go into your favorite search engine. I don't care which one you use. I don't get paid to have an opinion. Okay. Go to your favorite search engine and type in CNA license lookup. And it'll bring up the site that allows you to look up your certification. You're going to put in your name, and you're going under discipline, you're going to choose CNA because that's what you are. And that will bring up your electronic record. I suggest that you print that out. If you have the capability to print it, I would print it. So you have, a hard copy that you can refer back to. But your employers are not going to be able to accept a hard copy of anything because everybody has access to Photoshop now, right? It's not an exclusive thing. Everybody has access to it. And it's really easy to fake something now. They can't trust anything that you have had your grubby little hands on. They just can't trust it. So employers have to, this is a state requirement, they have to verify your certification status through that portal. Okay, good. So I want you to go on and look at your certification once you get it and make note of the expiration date. Now, in the end of February, early March, right before you expire, they're going to start sending you emails. And they're going to say, hey, your certification will be expiring on May 31st. And they send you lots of emails to remind you that your certification is going to expire. But unfortunately, they're not the only ones that are going to send you emails. You will also get a ton of spam mail from continuing education providers that want your money. There are also a ton of organizations out there that will offer to renew for you for a fee. Guys, renewal is you log in, you check 2 boxes, and you pay a fee. This is not a hard thing. Not at all. You log in, you check 2 boxes, and you pay a fee. Do not pay somebody $100 to do that for you. So anything that comes to your email, you need to see who it's from. And if you don't know how to do that, go to your search engine and, your search engine will tell you how to do that. but you have to look at the email address. If it did not come from MQA, Medical Quality Assurance, it's not an official email. Does that make sense? A lot of scams going on right now. I had a student that got, unfortunately, got caught up in a scam and ended up paying hundreds of dollars on something that they did not need to do. So what do we have to do for renewal? Okay, so we know we're going to have to renew. We know our MQA database will tell us when our certification expires, and you cannot work as a CNA if you're expired. Cannot work as a CNA. But what does renewal actually require? You never have to take the test again. Test is one and done. Thank God. But we do have to do some continuing education. And that's because things change in healthcare all the time. Things change. For instance, this is a really big change that is occurring in Florida healthcare. So I actually need to write a continuing education for this. The new up until 2 weeks ago, right, you could not get into public school without having all of your immunizations or immunization waivers. Well, that is changing. So if you go to work in pediatrics, particularly a pediatric physician office, you need to know what these new standards are, right? You should not be getting all of your news from social media, by the way. If you're working in healthcare, you need to make sure that the standards that you are employing at work are coming through a reputable source, not social media. There's a lot of misinformation out there. So continuing education would be geared toward your specific work environment. If you're working with dementia patients, this has no bearing on you at all. You don't need to learn about that. It doesn't affect you. If you're working in pediatrics, this affects you, right? So your continuing education needs to be tailored to the work that you are doing. But let's say you are working with dementia patients, but you want to work in pediatrics. Well, then you probably should do some continuing education geared toward pediatrics to make you more attractive as a potential applicant. Okay, so you can use your continuing education to enhance your knowledge about your current role or to gain new knowledge for a new role that you want. Now, continuing education is super easy. Most of it's done online. You just go to your favorite search engine, type in CNA, continuing education, a million things will pop up. Most of them are an annual fee, like $20, unlimited. Just get, go through the modules, read, watch the videos, answer the questions, you'll get a certificate. Super easy. Not real hard. I'm actually going to, hopefully by next year, I'll have my continuing education up and running, and those are going to be live streams because they're, to me, I cannot stand looking at a whole page of single-spaced words that I have to read through to get to a quiz that I have to take for a certificate. It's boring. You've lost me. I'm not going to read all that. I'm going to go to the bottom. I'm going to try to answer the questions. As long as I get a 70, I'm good. I'm out, right? But did that really help our future patients? So I'm going to make continuing education a little more accessible, a little more engaging. So stay tuned for that. And I'm going to try to make it as close to free as I can for you guys. Little bit, like maybe $1 or $2, okay? Because I have to pay for server space. But there's a million online providers. Now, sometimes your employer is going to offer continuing education. Have you ever worked in a place where you had to have like a monthly meeting? Well, a lot of employers, healthcare employers, have those monthly meetings, and they're going to talk to you about something that's important for you to know in that setting. And then they'll give you a quick 5-question quiz. When you answer it, they give you continuing education for that. So continuing education can be gotten through your employer once you're certified. It can be done online. And there are some hospitals and other things that do like a lunch and learn where you can go in and sit through presentations and get continuing education for that as well. So community-based education. So like the Alzheimer's Association, they do one like every other month. So that might be interesting if you're in that arena. So does that make sense? Everybody understand that you need continuing education, but how much do you need? Well, you need 1 hour for every month that you are certified. So if you are even year and your certification expires in 7 months, you would need 7 hours. After that first certification, it's always going to be May 31st of every even year. So it's 24 months, 24 hours. So from after your first renewal, it's always going to be every 2 years. It's the first renewal that's a little tricky because you're joining a group already in progress. Good? Questions?
And that can be done anytime within that.
Anytime. Most people are procrastinators and they wait till the weekend before they expire and they go online and they get all of their hours done immediately. And it really makes me roll my eyes because how did you do 24 hours in like 10? That's a little suspicious. But a lot of people will do that. They'll wait until the very last minute, go online, race through all of the reading and the videos and online education, get their hours, and then renew.
Is there a
Okay.
specific list or guidelines? Because I know you said there's thousands of them out there.
Yep. So there are some required topics. So if you're looking on page 171, at the bottom of that first column, you'll see in bold your required topics. So these are topics that you have to take continuing education in. And for CNAs, continuing education is called in services. Healthcare, we have 2 names for everything. So in services. Bloodborne pathogens, communication with cognitively impaired individuals, documentation, medical error prevention, CPR skills. Those are the things that you are going to have to do every renewal period, regardless. They used to have HIV on their every renewal period. They've dropped that down. Now it's just bloodborne pathogens. So it's not HIV specific. Donette, I'm about to take my New York State exam and I'm a little afraid about the written part of the exam. Well, Donette, we wish you luck, but go back and watch the replays of this. Print the, if you go to flcnatraining.com to watch the replays, print the review sheets. The review sheets will help you. And our ebook, which Jake will put up there for you, the ebook will also help you understand how to answer the written test questions, but good luck. All right. So that at the bottom of page 171, the bottom of that first column going up into the second column, you can see all the ones that are required. Anything beyond that would be related to the setting that you're in or want to go in. Okay. As far as online providers, are all pretty much the same. Find the cheapest one.
The reason I ask is I'm a CPT and I got to do that
Yes.
every year for renewal of that.
And those will
some of them
count.
might count toward this as well.
Yeah, the CPT, continuing education, once you're certified, because continuing education requires that you're certified first. So if you did CPT training last month, it's not going to count. Okay. So it would be whatever your renewal, if you get 1 hour of renewal for CPT renewals or 4 hours, whatever your level is, you would be able to count that toward your continuing education. Okay. So CPT is how to handle combative and physically irritated individuals. Okay. We used to call it seclusion and
I I was referring to certified personal trainer.
Oh, personal trainer. I'm sorry.
But we still have a lot of the same stuff in common, body mechanics, the bloodborne pathogens, all the rest of the stuff. So.
Yeah, and they'll count for both. They'll count for both. Yeah, so CPT is a medical. So yeah, you got to be careful, and we're going to talk about that in just a minute. You've got to be careful with initials. So CPT is a specific type of training you would get in, particularly with mental health, but also with dementia. So it's how to work with clients who are experiencing behavioral issues and becoming aggressive. We used to call it seclusion, and I can't remember. But if you're working in that setting, you probably will have CPT training. That will count toward your continuing education. You also have to have CPR as well. You have to keep up with your CPR. You do not need CPR to test. You don't need it to test. Most employers will require it, though. Okay. All right. So you don't have to send your certification off anywhere. So once you do your continuing education, just print it off, keep it in a file folder. You're not sending proof anywhere. You're just doing it. And then when you renew, they may audit you. If they audit you, they're going to say, hey, send us your proof. They audit about 1% of all CNAs. If you get audited and you cannot provide proof, they will take your certification away. You lied. That's an ethics problem. How can I trust you at grandma's house if you're willing to lie? So be careful. Do not lie on your renewal. They do audit, and the penalties are very severe if you're caught lying. In fact, there is one state that if you are caught lying as a CNA and getting your certification removed, you are now ineligible to become a nurse ever. You are ineligible to work in healthcare in any capacity ever. So one lie will affect your entire future career. It's an ethics problem. It's seriously an ethics problem. All right, so do your continuing education, print it off, keep it, don't send it anywhere, and then you go online. Now, the other requirement to renewing, in addition to doing your continuing ed, is that you had to have worked as a CNA for pay at least once in the renewal cycle. There's no hour requirement. It doesn't say that you had to work for 40 hours or 270 hours or 8 hours. It just says work once for pay. So if you are working at a bank and you don't want to leave your bank job, but you need to be able to renew your CNA because you don't want it to lapse, go to a home health company. Just tell them, hey, I need one visit so I can renew. And they'll say, okay, we've got a client for you. We'll send you out. You'll do that visit. You get a paycheck. You keep your pay stub. Now you've got proof. But in exchange for that, they now have the ability to call you when they have a case that they can't staff. They've got lots of people on their list that they can call, which can help them because sometimes they get short-staffed. And if you did a case for me 3 years ago or 3 months ago, I can call you up and say, hey, I've got a visit on Saturday. I don't have anybody else for. Is there any way you can help us out? Now, remember, they helped you, right? So it's a way of them expanding their staffing base without committing to either party committing to a regular employment situation. So there's a lot of home health companies that can help you with that. Don't let your certification lapse just because you didn't work full-time as a caregiver. Good? Okay, so we've done both things. We did our continuing education. We have worked at least once as a CNA. Now we go online, that same MQA website. We log in, and when we log in, they have all of your information because remember, you filled out your application. They have all of your information. So they're going to have you verify your information and create an account and all of that. Once you do that, it's that account is now tied to your certification. So you go in, you log in, and it'll tell you you're up for renewal, and you just click a button that says renew. You're going to check 2 boxes. One of them says, I have completed all of my continuing education. The other box says, I have worked as a CNA in this renewal period. You're going to pay $55 right online, and you are now renewed for the next 2 years. Okay. That's the renewal process. You don't need to pay somebody to do that for you. Bless you. Good? Everybody understand renewal? If you do not renew, you do not get to call yourself a CNA at all. You cannot use that title if you are not active as a CNA. That will get you into trouble faster than anything else. You cannot work as a CNA if you are not currently certified. Now, what happens if you don't renew on time? Something happens, you were in a car accident, you were in the hospital, you just couldn't get to it, whatever, right? You didn't renew, now you are expired. Well, you have until the next renewal period to do a late renewal. That means they're going to charge you like $150 for being late. They're going to charge you for it. But same things apply. You had to have worked at least once as a CNA for pay, and you had to do your continuing education. And this is where you might run into some problems. Remember just a couple seconds ago, I told you you cannot work as a CNA if you are expired. Well, if you don't have that work requirement, you can't get it while you're expired. So my suggestion to everybody is that you work at least once as a CNA for pay early in your renewal cycle. Early. Keep that pay stub because you never know what's going to happen in the future. You don't know. So if you are expired, you can't work as a CNA. If you can't work as a CNA, you can't satisfy that renewal requirement of working as a CNA, which means now you have to start the whole process all over. You got to do the test.
So when would you know when to jump into your renewal, or do you just hit a loop? Let's say you stop for 2 years.
Okay, so I'm going to give you a little bit different scenario that will cover that as well. So let's say that you expire May 31st, 2026, 7 months from now, and you didn't work as a CNA, you didn't do your continuing ed, you just decided after class, this really isn't for me, I got a better offer, I'm good. So you don't do your renewal. Now it's August. You didn't renew by May 31st, it's August, you are not a CNA. You can't renew at this point because you don't have that work experience, that work requirement. So you're not going to be able to get it now. So you are in the expired category, but you can't renew. So at that point, you would have to start all over. You're going to keep your same CNA number. You're just going to have to go through the whole testing process all over again. You'll have your same expiration date, right? Because you're in the same group. But that's, unfortunately, that happens to a lot of people. So a lot of people go into expired with no way to do a late renewal. Right. And it's unfortunate. It's not impossible. I mean, you guys are all going to pass the first time, so you can pass it again later. But yeah, why would you put yourself through that stress? So they start sending out renewal notifications in February, like the end of February. They give you all of March, all of May, April, and all of May to get your stuff together, right, to renew. From the time that they open renewal at the end of February, you can renew any time in there. Renew right away. Get it done. That way you can move on with your life. If you expire May 31st, 2026, and you don't renew, at the end of by 2028, right? Because they give you a whole renewal period to do a late renewal. At that point, your certification goes from expired to null. Null means that there is no path forward for you. You got to start all over again. Okay. They used to just give you 6 months to do a late renewal. They've opened it up. I don't think they should have. I think they should have stuck with the 6 months, because I'm afraid you're going to forget stuff like within the next 2 months. If you don't work as a CNA, do you know what you're going to forget in the next 2 years? So I don't agree with that, but they don't ask my opinion. So renew on time, renew. Keep your certification active. Something I always taught my kids: protect your ability to make more money. Don't mess with the certifications that can make you money. It's much easier to overcome giving up Netflix than it is giving up your certification. So make sure you're prioritizing your certification. What I always did, I was a single mom with very young children, and money was super tight, super, super tight. Every certification that I had that needed renewal, when I renewed my very first paycheck, the very first paycheck I got after renewing, I took my renewal fee out of. I put it in an envelope and I put it in a folder. I got my continuing education done right away. I printed it off and put it in the same folder. That folder was my renewal folder. It was green. I can tell you exactly what it looked like. It was green. And it had on the front of it in big Sharpie, renewal folder. Everything I needed to renew, my ability to make more money was in that folder. So when renewal time came around, if I wasn't able to do those steps, they were already done. All I had to do was submit my renewal, and I'm good for the next couple of years to make more money. And that's a really good strategy. Okay. Take care of your renewal requirements early so that it's easy to do the renewal. No, I got worse at procrastinating when I didn't have little ones depending on me to eat. I mean, that's reality. When you got kids depending on you for, eating, you got to figure out how to prioritize. Yeah, now I'm old and I have, I don't have money, but I'm not putting the mac and cheese back at Walmart. Good morning. All right. Does everybody understand renewal? Hi, I'm a Nigerian healthcare assistant currently studying health and social management in Malta, Europe. Can I apply for certification in the U.S. after my studies, or can I get a sponsored job? Ooh. Okay. This is a great question. I am not the person for this. I do not, I know nothing about immigration laws. I know nothing about any of this. And I probably couldn't even pick Malta out on a world map. Yeah, I'm not the person for this. I'm very sorry, but I do have a resource for you. Go to careslink.com. Jake, you can put that up for me. CaresLink is an online information website that lists all healthcare jobs worldwide. Sponsorship opportunities, helps you with immigration law, can put you in touch with an immigration lawyer, and has education verification, because there's a whole process you have to go through to verify education to move to different countries. So careslink.com is going to be your resource for that. And they have help. We actually just, this isn't a sponsored thing or anything, but they're actually using our CNA program in CaresLink now. Just built that out for them. All right. So any questions? That's the only reason I know about them. I am not an immigration person. All right. Any questions on continuing education in the renewal process? Renew on time. Save yourself a lifetime of grief. Renew on time. All right, so I have that video. I told you I'm not going to make you watch that video because it needs to be updated, but let me tell you where to find it. So if you go to my 4YourCNA.com website, and this will be in your wrap-up emails. I'll have a link in there for you, so you don't have to write this all down. But if you go to 4YourCNA.com, under After Certification, so that top menu has training. That's where you guys are now. There's testing, which is coming up for you. And then there's after certification. Now, the after certification is going to be your renewal stuff. It's also going to be how to find a job, you know, everything that happens after you get certified. So that's where you're going to find this video. The video is a little bit outdated because it does have the blue card. And you guys don't get the blue card anymore. But the rest of the information is valid. That's what your blue card used to look like, but it doesn't anymore. On page 172, I have, did you need me to put the thing back? Okay. You're welcome. So on page 172 and 173, we have contact information for all of the boards of nursing for every state. So if you decide you want to move to New York, this is who you would contact. You would contact New York Board of Nursing. I'm a Florida CNA. I'd like to be a New York CNA, and they will tell you the steps to take. A lot of states offer what's called reciprocity. That means that they give you a certification in their state because you've got one somewhere else. New York does that. So New York says, hey, you're a Florida CNA. Cool. We need CNAs. Fill out this form. Do our background check, because every state you have to have a background check in that state. And pay us a fee because nothing comes free. And we'll give you a certification here too. Now, you're not giving up Florida. You're getting this in addition to Florida, which means when it comes to renewal time, you've got to renew both if you want to keep both active. Okay, good. Not every state does that. There are some states that are like, hold up, not so fast. In order to be a CNA here, you've got to go through our testing. And then there are some states that are like, nope, you got to do it all. We want you trained our way, according to our laws and rules. So you'd want to know before you move which states offer reciprocity and which ones require education and training to be certified. Like California, they don't accept anything. If you want to be a CNA in California, you're going to start all over again. You're going through school, you're going through testing, all of it. But you are going to get paid a much higher wage in California. Of course, cost of living is astronomical, but you know, it's all relative, right? Okay. Nicole, you had a question?
Oh, yes. If you do get your certification and renew it, like say me, if I did in Massachusetts and Florida, can one affect the other if you don't renew?
No, they're independent. Now, one can affect the other if you get a disciplinary action against one, but renewal, no.
Disciplinary action, yes.
Absolutely. Absolutely. All right. Now, any questions on renewal, all of that? We're good?
So if you have multiple certifications, the same pay stub and
Oh, okay. So let me go over that. Yeah, I didn't cover that. So every state has a different renewal process. There are some states that don't charge you at all for renewal. Don't charge a penny. But you have to be actively working full time in a nursing home for renewal. So if you're working home health, doesn't count. If you're working at a hospital, doesn't count. You have to be working full time in a nursing home for renewal. So there are some states like that. And I'm going to explain why now, because this is a very good segue into our next topic. So let's talk a little bit about the term CNA. So what does CNA stand for? What is the C? Certified. Okay, so everything's in the name. Certified. That means that we took a test, we passed it, we proved our competency, we are on a registry, we are certified. You cannot use that term certified unless you've gone through those steps. Now, the rest of it is nursing, that's our industry, assistant, that's our role. But the certified is the important part here. So you cannot be a CNA without going through all of the CNA steps. Well, in most states, the majority of states, you only need to be a certified nursing assistant to work in a nursing home or in home care if you do not have your HHA. So that means that if you're working at a hospital, you do not need to be a CNA. You do not need your CNA, your certification to work in mental health, to work in a walk-in clinic, to work in a rehab, to work in mental health. You do not need to be certified to work in any setting other than a nursing home and home health if you don't have your home health aid. To work in home health, you got to have something, right? We just need to know that you know to pull the patient out of the fire before you call 911.
But what if it's specifically a CNA job at the hospital?
Okay, so let's talk about that. Now, remember, I was very clear about this. I said legally, you do not have to be a CNA. That doesn't mean that your employer doesn't have certain requirements. So, like I own the scrub shop, right? And I hired some, sales clerks to work in the scrub shop. Now, I can make up any requirements I want for that position. I could require that anybody I hire has a bachelor's in art history. Doesn't have anything to do with the job, but that doesn't matter. There is no overseeing body that says that I have to have certain criteria. Okay. There's minimum standards I have to meet in some industries, but there's no maximum. So, direct care staff, people that put their hands on patients, direct care staff. Legally, you do not need to be a CNA to work in those other settings. Your employer may require you to have your CNA, but that's not a legal requirement. That's an employer requirement. Now, let me explain to you why. Training costs money. If I bring you in off the street and you don't know anything, I have to train you. Now, that means a couple of weeks of me paying an instructor and paying you to be there to learn. Now, chances are, once I do that, once I train you, you're going to take that training and that certification and take off for the highest bidder. So now I have incurred the cost of providing that training with little to no assurance that you're going to stick around for me to benefit from it. Does that make sense? So employers don't want to train you. And if they do offer training, a lot of times they want you to agree to work for them for a certain amount of time in exchange for that training. So it's easier for them to say, I'd rather have a CNA because CNAs come pre-trained. And they've had a certification exam that proved that they had a minimum level of competence. Does that make sense?
Because I've seen jobs where the role is specifically a CNA, and then you have your PCT within the hospital.
Okay, we're going to talk about that.
Okay.
Hold on one second. We call it alphabet soup, and I'm getting there. Yeah. So do you guys understand that? That legally speaking, there's only two places, according to our statutes, there's only two places that you have to have your CNA to work. Now, if you do not, and employers may like you to be a CNA because you're trained and you're certified. That may be what they want. So that's what they put in their job description. That doesn't mean it's legally required. It means it's what they want because they don't want to train you. Okay. Now, you can only be a CNA if you are a CNA. You have to take the test. You have to be on the registry. You have to be non-expired. So if you're an active CNA, you can use that title CNA. Everybody with me? We just talked about that a second ago, right? So I'm going to bring this all together. All right. If you are trained but not tested, you are not certified, we can't call you a CNA. We're going to call you something else. We call it alphabet soup. You will see PCT, PCA, nurse tech, DCP. There's a million terms. They all mean the same thing. You provide hands-on care, but you are not a CNA. It doesn't matter what the term is. Does not matter what that term is. You provide hands-on care, but you are not a CNA. So when you see PCT job listings for your local hospital, that just means you are going to provide direct care, direct patient care, but you are not a CNA. Now, if you are a CNA, they can call you a CNA, or they could just leave it as PCT. They don't care. They don't care. But remember I said that you had to work as a CNA for pay in order to renew? This is where it can get a little tricky. Because if you're working as a PCT, you definitely have to have some direct patient care experience in order to renew. And I'll give you a good example. There is a scheduler at one of our local nursing homes that does no direct patient care. She does not put hands on patient. She schedules staff. And she was a CNA. But during renewal, she did not perform direct patient care activities. So even though she was a CNA, she had the title of a CNA in that facility. If she did not perform direct patient care activities, the Board of Nursing has the option to not renew her as a CNA. You need to understand this because it's going to affect your ability to renew. That is why there are some states that will only renew if you are working full-time as a CNA at a nursing home, which remember is the one place you're legally required to have your CNA. Everywhere else, it doesn't matter. Call them what you want. We don't care. Not regulated. Now, something else that's not regulated in Florida, it is regulated in a few other states, but not in Florida, and we're going to focus on Florida because that's where we live, is medical assistance. A lot of people think you have to go to medical assistant school to be a medical assistant. You don't. A doctor can hire you off the street and train you to be a medical assistant, but they don't want to because it takes time. It takes staff. They would rather have somebody who is already trained. So again, this is not legally overseen. Anybody can be a medical assistant. There's no training requirements. There are schools out there that'll send you to school for 2 years to be a medical assistant when, remember, it's appropriate for on-the-job training. So you just took out a $25,000 student loan and 2 years of your life, and you're going to come out making minimum wage for a job that they could have trained you for. You got to be careful when it comes to medical education. It is a money-making endeavor. A lot of you guys will think, well, I'm not going to get a job as a CNA. I think I'm going to go get my phlebotomy and my EKG and maybe medical assistant and a couple other certifications to make myself more attractive. All you are doing is putting money in other people's pockets and taking money out of your own. It's not going to make you any more attractive, because there's very few settings where you're going to need all of those certifications, and you can't renew any of them if you don't work in that setting. So you're going to throw all that money away, not be able to renew that certification, and not need it. In the meantime, you haven't been working and making money. So be careful about the additional certification that you look to get. Okay. Now, if you go to work in a hospital as a CNA, call it a PCT or whatever you want to call it, but if you go to work at the hospital and they say, hey, we really need you to know EKG because we're putting you on the telemetry floor, they're probably going to have an EKG training session there. Do that. Okay. If they need you to have a skill beyond what you get hired for, they will provide the training for that skill. Good? Good. Okay. There are, in our community right now, there are over 2,000 out of work phlebotomists, people that have taken the phlebotomy program who cannot find a job as a phlebotomist. And they went into debt, like $20,000 in student loan debt for something that they can't get a job for. Be careful. Medical education is a for-profit industry. Now, that doesn't mean that you shouldn't look at advancing your career. LPN, RN, medical ultrasound, those are all great career paths. Okay? Just do your research and be careful. Any questions on that? So it's all in the name. CNA means certified, but the only place you need to be certified is in a nursing home or home care if you don't have something else. If you don't have some sort of certification like home health aide. Good? Questions? All right, now let's talk about finding a job. So we took our test, we got certified, we had our little party, yay. And now it's time to go to work. Where do we work? Well, working in healthcare is different than finding a job in any other industry. And part of it has to do with the terminology we just talked about. You guys are going to look for CNA positions and probably gloss right over the PCT or the DCP or any of those other alphabet soup terms. And you're limiting your options there. You can work in mental health as a CNA, but the positions may not say CNA. You can work as a dialysis tech, but it's not going to say CNA. What you want to do is look at all of the options and the job descriptions. When you go into a job posting, there's always a job description. Read through it. And if you say to yourself, oh, I can do that, then apply for the job. Okay. The CNA will help you because it shows that you had a minimum level of training and competence. It makes you much more attractive as an applicant. So it helps you. But I need you to understand that it doesn't limit you to just CNA roles. So when you're looking for a job, if you're just looking CNA, you're missing a lot of really good opportunities. Okay. Does that make sense? Okay. I just had a student the week before last. She got a job as a dialysis tech, and she had taken my class like 3 or 4 years ago. And she called me and she says, I just want you to know, I never would have considered this as a career option. I absolutely love my job. But she never would have considered it. So this is your CNA is your starting point. Remember, there's beyond that. But finding a job in healthcare is a little different than finding a job in other industries. Like most of the time, if we're looking for a job, we go on to like Monster or Career Builder or Indeed. That's the big one, or even Snag a Job, right? We're just looking for a job. We're looking for work. Who's going to hire me? But healthcare isn't quite the same industry. And part of the reason is getting qualified applicants. What you guys probably don't understand or you don't know is that every one of those employer posts on all of those jobs boards cost money. They don't cost you money, they cost the employer money. I'm going to get to that in just a second. So as a CNA, the first thing that you need to think about is, where do I want to work? You do not want to work everywhere. You need to find out the right place for you. Now, the way to do this is through our workplace personality quiz. So if you have not taken that, this is the time to do so. That workplace personality quiz is going to help narrow down the right workplace for you based on your personality. This is where you want to start. If you are trying to apply to every single CNA position out there, that's going to be your full-time job, just applying. That's not really going to get you anywhere. We want to narrow it down a little bit. So once we know where we want to work and we have a good focused job search criteria, then we're going to start looking on those online jobs boards. This is always first line. This is where everybody goes because you can sit on your couch and do this without having to get dressed. This is awesome. But the problem with this is that it's very limited. You've got a lot of options there. And there's a million more that I didn't list there. These are the big ones. But there's one in particular I want to talk about. I usually highlight this one. It's called usajobs.com. And you are the first class that I'm actually going to tell you don't do this, because we are in the middle of a government shutdown and all federal hiring has been frozen. So this is going to do you no good. But if we ever get to the point that they start hiring again, USA Jobs will open up some opportunities for you that you probably haven't thought of, like working for the VA. The VA has some excellent benefits. Federal prisons hire CNAs. Department of Homeland Security hires CNAs for their detention centers. There's a lot of opportunities in the federal government for non-traditional healthcare roles, and they pay well and they have good benefits. So it's something to kind of tuck in the back of your mind for later, but it's not going to help you right now. Okay. Indirectly, if this shutdown continues, I need you to understand that that will impact your employability options here, because healthcare, a good portion of it is paid through Medicare and Medicaid dollars, federal funds. And with the government shut down, half of the staff at CMS, which is the Centers for Medicare and Medicaid Services, they're the ones that write the checks to the hospital to reimburse them for the care. Half of those staff were furloughed as of today, which means that your hospitals and your nursing homes are going to have delays with payments. If that continues for any amount of time, they're not going to be able to pay staff, which means they will stop hiring. Okay. This has real world consequences for you, and I would be remiss if I didn't point these out. Unfortunately, this happened, on graduation day for you, and it is unfortunate. So hopefully they will work together and come up with a solution, and our government will get back on track. That is what we can hope for. But in the meantime, you can search some of these. But this is your first stop. It should not be your last. This is not where things end. And the reason is this. Every one of those jobs boards costs money for the employer to post a job on. So you're not going to see that same position. So let's say that hospital ABC down the road has a CNA position on the second floor nights. Well, you might see that on Indeed, but it's not on Monster. It's not on Simply Hired. It is on Career Builder. It's on iHire, but it's not on some of the others. And that's because every one of these costs money. So they are going to limit their job advertisements to the platforms that get them the best applicants. Does that make sense? You're not going to see them on all of the jobs boards because they cost money. But here's the real problem. Healthcare is never fully staffed. Ever. So, like Chili's, they may have a opening for a server, but once the server gets hired, they're no longer hiring. They're fully staffed. Healthcare, not like that. We are always short-staffed, which means that your employers have to advertise on these jobs boards every single day, forever. That's a lot of money. So your local employers can't afford that. They simply cannot afford that. So it'll be hit and miss. They may have 4 positions, but only one of them shows up here. So this is a good kind of overview, but it's not a complete picture, not by any stretch of the imagination. So what do? Well, the best thing to do is to go directly to the place you want to work. So let's say you want to work at Hospital ABC. It's near your home. You've got a friend that works there. You like the color of scrubs they wear. I don't know what your hiring criteria is, but you decide you want to work at Hospital ABC. So what you need to do is go directly to Hospital ABC's website. And every website has a jobs or careers tab. Now, all of their positions will be listed here because they own it. It doesn't cost them any money. Good? So go direct to their website. Type in CNA or PCT or whatever your search term is going to be and search. If you're at a hospital, I would absolutely recommend CNA and PCT because the hospital may not be advertising for a CNA. If you're at a rehab center, you should look up CNA, but also nurse tech and PCA. If you're at a walk-in clinic, look up medical assistant. You guys all qualify for all of those. Okay, good. Makes sense? All right, so go directly to the facility that you want to get hired at if you've got 1 or 2 in mind. But if you're a little more wide open, you're like, I really don't care. I just need a job. I need a paycheck. Somebody hire me, please. Then we need to take a little bit broader approach. So in that case, we're going to tap a couple of options. Remember, those jobs boards are very limited because they cost money. But what doesn't cost money is my website. So if you go to 4YourCNA.com, now this is just for my local people, Okay, just you guys. You guys, you're on your own. I'll give you some search tips in a minute, but for you guys, if you go to that after certification where we were earlier, drop down menu says local employers. I actually created a list for you. Every single local medical employer is on here grouped by hospital, nursing home, ALF, rehab, home health, and other. And if you click on the name, it'll take you directly to their website, the hiring careers page on their website. And when possible, I've already preloaded it with CNA for you. So it'll show the CNA positions for that facility in our community. So I've already done the work for you. This is Hernando, some Pasco, and I think I have a few Citrus on there. But it's predominantly Hernando County, yeah. But for those of you who aren't in Hernando County, Google is your friend. So let me explain how this works. So the website can help you with this. But if you go into Google, now all websites are crawled by Google. Google's the biggest search engine out there. So that hospital website that we were just on, Google's bots crawl that site. So Google knows all of the positions that are on that site. So if you, and the same thing with dialysis, with doctor's offices, with rehab, all of them. So if you go into Google, and most people don't know this, right? We all go to those jobs boards. Google does it for free. So if you go onto Google's website and just type in CNA jobs near me, Google knows where you are. Like to the foot, Google knows where you are. So CNA jobs near me, and it'll pull up every listing that's on every website in your area. So it's a great way of shortcutting. If you know you want to go to hospital ABC, go directly to their website. But if you're unsure, I'm not really sure where I want to work, I just want a job, then Google is your friend. And that's what's going to help you. Okay. And you'd be surprised. Now, what I love about this option is that it won't just pull up CNA, it'll pull up those PCTs, because Google knows that if you have a CNA certification, you're qualified for these positions, because it reads all of the job descriptions, and that term CNA is in the job description. Okay, good. Now, this is a great tool, probably the most powerful job search tool there is. But there's another one that's really underutilized, and that is social media. Every one of your local employers has a social media presence. Even nursing homes, they're on social media. You probably haven't stopped to see it, but they are. So this is a great way of finding out positions. So if you know you want to work at XYZ nursing home because it's near your house, or your aunt was there, or whatever, you can actually go to social media, and they're on all the platforms. They actually hire social media people. That is their job. So you go onto social media, you look up XYZ nursing home, and they post on there, hey, we have an opening for 3 to 11 on our rehab unit. If you know of anybody, encourage them to apply. Well, it's a great thing to hit reply and say, I'm interested. And they will help you with the next steps. But now they know your name. You're not just some faceless application that came through that they're not familiar with. Now they know your name. Before you do this, though, I would absolutely scrub your own social media. You don't want those bikini pics and those beer pong pics on your social media if you're going to be connecting with employers, because that's the first thing they're going to do. They're going to hit your profile pic, and they're going to go over and look at your profile to get a sense of who you are. So if you're going to use social media for job searching, and this is powerful, guys. This is powerful. A great way to connect. Because when you send an application through an online interface, it is flat. They don't know you. There's no personality there. You filled in some boxes. That's it. There's nothing to make you stand out from anybody else. But this is powerful. Okay, but make sure you've scrubbed your own first.
There's one I really like. It's called Career Florida. It's a state job center,
Okay.
and they have online as well as centers. They have liaisons that can help get you in contact with jobs. They have,
Oh, good.
Every single job that gets posted in Florida gets posted on their website and in physical.
Okay.
They have phones and email accounts in case you don't have them. And
Wow.
they also will help you build a resume. They
Okay.
have their own templates that and directors that will go along with you and help you make your own resumes. That's awesome.
Perfect.
And they also print them out.
Awesome. Okay, you guys all heard that, right?
But it's totally free. It's run by the state, and since it's state run, it has every single job that gets posted in anywhere. In Florida.
That's great. One-stop shop. Absolutely. Okay. All right.
Subscribe our social media. Yes, I've always been.
Yes.
Can we just create another?
Yeah, I would. Yeah.
Everybody can do that.
Along those lines, oh, I got to talk about this too. Along those lines, I know most you guys are all okay. I'm pretty sure. Let's talk about email addresses. If you do not have a relatively professional email address with like your name and some numbers, do not use. There are some that come to mind. Do not use risque email addresses. Okay. So dominatrix XYZ is not what you want to put on an application. Please be aware of that. And yeah, we have had some, and that's, all of you guys have to give me your email addresses. And we have had some come through the class that I've had to take aside and say, you need to create a new email address if you're going to be job searching. You cannot use this. That will absolutely disqualify you. They will toss your application. So your application should be, in all reality, some version of your name. Numbers, that's fine. Things that are, interest-based are okay, but it's best to have some version of your name. Okay. So like D&D master, well, I'm very glad that you like D&D and that you're a master, but that's not really what we are looking for. Okay. Does that make sense? So the good thing is email addresses are all free. Just make one and use that. All right. There's one more job search avenue that you guys have that you probably aren't really thinking about. And I would say it's most likely the one that will get you the best results. So we've gone over a lot, right? We've looked at jobs boards. We've looked at going direct to websites. We've looked at Google. We've looked at our website, and we looked at social media. So a lot of opportunity for jobs. But this next one is probably the one that will get you the best results, and that is your network. Everybody that works, or everybody knows somebody that works in healthcare. Think about your circle. You probably have a friend or a family member or a neighbor's daughter or your best friend's mom, or somebody that works in healthcare. And that is honestly the best opportunity to find a position. Now, there's a couple reasons for this. First of all, you're getting insider information. Because the first thing I would do is go, let's say that you work at the local hospital and I kind of know you. You live 3 doors down and I see you in your scrubs and I pull up and I say, hey, can I ask you a question? Where do you work? And you say, I work at a local hospital. My next question is, do you like it? Now, if you don't like your job, you're probably going to tell me. Yeah, I would stay away from that place. That's just not, I wouldn't go there. You'll probably be very honest with me. Now, that might help me narrow down my search options. I'm going to take that with a grain of salt because I know that most people are dissatisfied with their job, not because of what they do, but who they do it with. So I'm going to take it with a grain of salt, but it is going to weigh on my decision. But let's say that you like your job and you go, oh yeah, I'm in with a great group. I love it. I'm out by 3 o'clock so I can pick my kids up. I go to all the, soccer practices. It's great. I love it. I'm going to say, oh wow, are they hiring? Now, if you say yes, they're hiring, and you refer me, you're going to get a bonus if I get hired. And if I stay long enough, I'll probably get a bonus too. Now, the reason that they do this, there's 2 reasons. One is one you can probably figure out. The second is hidden from you. I'm going to explain it to you. So healthcare is, for better or worse, a female-dominated industry for direct care. Female-dominated industry. Do you guys know any females? Females on their own are easy to get along with. Females in a group are cliquish, territorial, and difficult. I'm a female, I can say it. Okay. This is the thing that nobody talks about because it's socially inappropriate. Not all females are cliquish. Not all females are territorial. Okay, I'm generalizing. But there are a lot of personality issues when you have a group of females working together, especially when you throw a new person into the mix. It's a fact. Human resources will tell you this. So if I can, as a human resources person, get somebody in that already knows somebody that works here and is referred by them, the chances of personality difficulties diminishes. Human resources isn't going to be there to talk to you about your performance, right? How well you get a partial bed bath. They're there to mediate the issue that you're having with your coworker. They don't want problems. They want easy. And the best way to get easy is to get a staff that already knows and likes one another. You reduce the conflict. That is the hidden part of this. It's worth money to them. It is worth money to them to be able to avoid those personality conflicts. That's powerful, guys. That's big. So if you know somebody that works in healthcare and they would recommend that you apply, you will automatically get a much more favorable reception than somebody that is applying online because of that. Make sense? You're also saving them money, right? That's the part we all kind of know. Well, if they don't have to advertise that position online, we're saving them money. They'd like to give that to us. We'll take it. But it's the personality conflicts that they're really trying to avoid. Make sense? I'm going to get hate mail off of that, I know. Almost every job I've ever quit has been personality driven. Not what I did, it's who I did it with. And that's the sad reality. I actually quit one of my favorite jobs. Loved it. Loved the job. But I left because I could not support the manager that did not support the staff. I just couldn't do it. Not when I'm forced to make life and death decisions on my patients because you won't get out from behind the desk. So we understand how big of a role personality plays in our day-to-day work. Okay. Some other opportunities, these are just kind of honorable mentions. Of course, there's job fairs, there's visiting facilities in person. That doesn't work so well anymore. They'll all tell you just go online and apply. Community events. One of our local hospitals, and I'm not going to give them a shout out, but we've only got 3 hospitals, so you figure it out. One of the local hospitals does a job fair meet and greet, usually once every 4 to 6 weeks at Marker 48 Brewing. So as long as you're 21 and up, it's a great way to meet the hiring managers in a more relaxed social situation. So that's something that you can kind of look at too. They're actually having really good success with it, which I'm kind of surprised at, but really good success with it. I would anticipate that some other healthcare facilities will start doing something similar because the competition out there for healthcare workers is fierce. Everybody needs you. Everybody needs you. You're not going to be out of work as a CNA. The competition is fierce.
You decided you were going to leave that job after much thought, much going over. Many times in human resources.
Yeah, I went through all the proper channels and then I found a different position. And I wasn't the only one. Half of the staff left. And there were only 12 or 13 of us in that unit. They lost half of their staff in the same day. Yeah. Yeah. And she's still there. The manager is still there. All right. So now that we know where we want to work and we found a suitable position, let's figure out how to get it. This is if you don't take anything else out of here today, there are 2 things you need to remember. Number 1 is that you can't get hired if you aren't remembered. And number 2 is you have to make a good impression at your interview. Those are the 2 things I want you to remember. You can't be hired if you aren't remembered. And there's not much right now that you have to make you memorable. You guys are all new. So you'll probably interview fine once I go over interview tips with you, but we got to get there. So when you're filling out your application, this is something that a lot of people don't know. If you go online to ABC Hospital and you fill out the online application, that application does not go to the hospital. Everybody expects it to, but it doesn't. It goes to a third-party human resources company, and most of ours are routed through St. Pete. That's where most human resources companies are for our local providers. So we fill out this online application. It goes down to a human resources company in St. Pete, and it goes through what we call filters in their server. And the filters are going to look for very specific keywords. And if it does not find those keywords, it trashes your application. It does not send you a notice. You fill out your application, you hit submit, and that's it. You hear nothing else. But that application was caught by filters and discarded because you did not meet the criteria that they set. So you can't even get an interview that way because your application, it didn't even go to a person. The filters caught it and got rid of it. So how do we get past those filters? Well, the best way to do that is to make sure that your application matches that job description exactly. If that job description says BLS required, then your application has to say that you are certified in BLS. Now, you probably call it CPR. CPR and BLS, same thing, 2 different names. If the application, or I'm sorry, if the job description says BLS, your application has to say BLS. Good? Make sense? If the job description does not say that CNA certification is required, you can put whatever you want on your application. If that application says CNA required, you better have your certification date on that application. Otherwise, the filters are going to toss it. So when you're filling out online applications, you need to take this job description and have it right next to you to make sure that you're getting the right things in the right places so that it doesn't get caught in the filters. Does that make sense? Everybody with me? I'm going to tell you something else, especially at hospitals, because hospitals have the worst filters ever. It may take you 4 or 5 applications before you even get through to a live person. And I don't know why. It's very strange to me. It's almost like the filters have to see your name a couple times to know you're serious. It's weird. But the first or second application, you're probably not going to get anywhere. And that could be very, very discouraging. Well, I put an application in, I haven't heard anything. Yeah, it probably got tossed. So be persistent. Fill out an application. If you don't hear anything in a week, fill out another one. If you don't hear anything in a week, fill out another one. If you know how to use AI, put the job description into AI and ask it to help you fill out your application. It'll make sure. It's a computer. It knows how filters work. Yep, keywords. That's right. That's right. So apply. One other thing, apply to all positions listed. If they have 3 CNA positions listed, 1 on 2 North, 1 on 3 South, 1 on 4 West, you need to apply to all of them. They don't share applications. Apply to all of them, unless you have a specific reason to want one. All right. So we filled out our online, we found a job that we want. We filled out an online application, and now we're finally getting to our interview. How do we make a good impression during an interview? Well, there's a couple of things we have to talk about here. First, dress to impress. Business professional, always appropriate for interviews, always appropriate. If you want nice pants, nice shirt, go for it. But there's an old saying, dress for the job you intend to get. If we are intending to get a CNA, PCT, PCA, DCP, alphabet soup job, what do they normally wear? Scrubs. Scrubs are appropriate for entry-level healthcare interviews, but they need to be neat, clean, pressed. If you don't know your way around an iron, take them to the dry cleaners. But you shouldn't just pull them out of the dryer, shake them out, and throw them on like we do for class. Pressed. They should be solid in color. Darker is best. This is not the time to pull out your Tweety Bird prints. Solid in color, darker is best. The darker, the more professional. Black is appropriate. But if you know the color of the CNAs at that facility and you have that color, wear it. Let me tell you why. And I've been in this game long enough to have seen this happen twice now. So uniforms go through cycles, okay? We don't have enough staff. We need to recruit staff. And the only way to recruit staff is to give them allowances, right? So we're going to let them wear anything they want. You can wear whatever print you want. I don't care what you wear as long as you get here. Okay. So very lenient. This is where the Tweety Bird scrubs come in. And then we get fully staffed. And then a corporate person says, you know what? This doesn't look very good. It doesn't look professional. Everybody's in faded scrubs. Nothing matches. I don't like this. Everybody's going to be color-coded. So they move to color coding. Now, as they're moving to color coding, the people that are used to wearing everything they want start to grumble. I don't like it. I don't like royal blue. I don't like purple. I don't like red. I don't like green. Nobody likes their color. Nobody. So now the managers are stuck playing fashion police. You can't be at work today in that. You go home and change. If you're not going to wear the right scrubs, you're not working here. So now they're in a very uncomfortable position where they have to play fashion police. And that takes up all of their time, makes them enemy number one, and nobody likes it. They don't like it. The staff doesn't like it. The only people happy are the managers sitting in the office and don't have to hear it. So once we finally get everybody in the right colors and playing the right game, then for some reason we end up with staffing issues. Everybody starts going off for highest dollar, and then we have not enough staff. So the only way to get staff is to tell people you can wear what you want. And we go back to print. And this has happened twice now in my career time. So I've seen how this works. Right now, we're in everybody's color coded. But remember that your managers just not too long ago had to have all of these fights with people to get them to wear the right clothes. If you walk in those Tweety Bird prints, they're going to look at you, take one look and go, nope, not going to hire you because you are going to be a problem. I am going to have to play uniform police. I'm not interested. Now, you don't know any of that. That's the only scrub you've got. You pulled it out of the closet. You put it on. You thought you were doing good because you wore scrubs. You have no idea about all that history and what has happened with that manager. So I'm going to tell you, if you're going to wear scrubs, make them solid. If you know the color that the CNAs wear it. Because if you walk in hunter green and my CNAs wear hunter green, you now look the part. I can easily see you in that role. I know that you took the time to research it, which means you really want to come here. And if you really want to work here, you might actually show up. And you won't ghost me once I hire you, which would be awesome, right? It's showing that you've got a level of commitment there. Don't go out and buy scrubs, though, because if you don't get the job, now you got a set of scrubs you can't wear. Only if you have them in that color, wear them.
Is it not more professional to wear like dress?
You can. Business professional is always appropriate. You can wear business professional to any interview, healthcare or otherwise. But remember, I have to picture you in that role. And if you're there in business professional, I'm going to have a harder time picturing you as a healthcare worker. Okay. Doesn't mean you can't. It's perfectly okay, but you probably will get better reception if you're there in scrubs. Okay. Make sense? Okay. All right. So once we dress appropriately, now let's talk about odors. You should smell clean, not perfumey. Clean. Leave the heavy perfumes at home. You should not, under any circumstances, smell like nicotine or anything else that gets smoked in Florida. Most settings are non-smoking campuses. If you smell like nicotine, if you smell like smoke, they will not hire you. They're not going to hire you. They will cut the interview short. They are not going to hire you. And the reason for that is you tend to take longer smoke breaks and more often. That means the other workers are going to have to cover when you get stressed out and go outside on breaks, which means they're going to be complaining to human resources, and now you're a problem. If you smell like anything other than nicotine, you are going to be a problem. I don't care if you have your medical marijuana card, you are going to be a problem. So anything that you choose to do is going to affect your interview. Please also do not smell like any sort of alcohol. Clean. That's what we're going for here. Okay. I know these things, everybody rolls their eyes, but I have to say them. One other thing that you guys probably don't know, if you do not drive yourself, to an interview, if you get, if you have a significant other that drives you to an interview or a parent, they need to leave campus. They need to drop you off and leave. Do not have them stay. That's actually a really big red flag for human resources. Because if you've got somebody that is staying, and trust me, they know. The receptionist pays attention. They know. If you've got somebody that is sitting in a car while you're in the interview, chances are that person is controlling. And that's going to be a problem. We have a pretty high rate as far as industries of workplace violence from significant others. So that's not a good look. Have them drop you off and leave. Call them when you're done. They can come pick you up. Do not have them sit there because that is controlling behavior. Just do a simple Google search, nursing home shootings, hospital shootings, and it's sobering how many times this happens. So they are watching for that. And part of it is because as caregivers, we tend to be very empathic, and we tend to attract people with controlling personalities. So please be careful. All right, so we look the part, we smell the part. Now we're ready for the interview. When you go into the interview, go early, 10 to 15 minutes early. We talked about this already, 10 to 15 minutes early. And you want to look at the facility. You are there to interview them as much as they're there to interview you. How long does it take the call lights to be answered? How do the staff treat each other? How are the staff treating the patients? How do the patients look? You can gather a lot of information just in those few minutes that you're waiting to figure out whether this is a place you want to work. You are agreeing to be in this place 8 to 12 hours a day away from your families. It's got to be a place that works for you as well as you working for it. So take a look around. Nothing worse than agreeing to work at a place you're absolutely miserable at. That is horrible. Nobody should have to do that. So go a little early. Be nice to the receptionist. The manager might be the one who's deciding to hire you, but that receptionist is going to give input. Absolutely. That manager will ask the receptionist, what'd you think? Oh, she was on her phone the entire time. Not a good look. Phone should actually be in your car. That's the best place for a phone. If it's in your pocket, it should be on silent and it should remain in your pocket. Do not pull it out. Do not pull it out before an interview. You need to sit there, go through your paperwork, watch the facility, but do not be on your phone. You should be engaged. Because when you pull out your phone, that tells them that you are unable to sit still for more than 2 or 3 minutes without any entertainment, without any input from social media. And during work, if you've got some downtime, you're not looking around for things to be doing. What are you going to do? That's right. So that piece of information is critical at getting hired. Okay. All these little things that we don't really think about. We have to think about what it looks like on the other side. When somebody is watching us, what are the messages we're sending with our actions? Okay. All right. You do need to have eye contact and smile during the act like you want to be there, even if you don't. Pretend. But eye contact is way more important than you think it is. And I know interviews are stressful. I get it. But remember, half of our job is observation and reporting. If you can't make eye contact during an interview, what are you going to do in the middle of a crisis situation? Right? You're not going to be involved. You're not going to be engaged. You're going to be hiding in a corner somewhere. So eye contact, very important. Shake hands firmly. Everybody knows how to shake hands, right? Okay. Shake hands firmly and answer questions thoroughly. Briefly, though, respect their time. brief but thorough. So on that note, yeah, we already know that. On that note, there's going to come a point in time during your interview where they're going to ask you, do you have any questions for me? The very worst thing you can say is, no, I'm good. That makes you look uninterested, but also uninformed. That's not a good look. We need some questions that we can ask during the interview. And I actually have a whole bunch for you on page 176. You're new to the industry. You don't know what to ask yet. So take a few of these with you. Take a notebook. You should be writing down answers. So if they decide to offer you the position on the spot, the conversation usually goes something like this. I'd like to make an offer. I'd like to offer you a position here. It would be nights, 11 to 7, set schedule, Tuesday through Saturday. And we're offering to pay you, we'll start you out at $20 an hour plus a $1 shift differential for night, plus a $1 shift differential for weekends as well. And if you're interested, we're going to have you come in on Monday for orientation. Now, orientation's in the medical office building across the street. Our conference room is on the second floor. It's room 231, and you'll be meeting with Joyce. You can wear just casual clothes the first 2 days, but then after that, we'll have you over here shadowing. And I think I'll put you with Sabrina for shadowing. So you'll need to be in scrubs. And the scrub color here is purple. And you'll want to be reporting, since you're working nights, you'll want to be here at least a half hour before so that we can go over some things before you clock in. We can make sure you clock in right. And see, I think that we'll probably have you start on, we'll start you on the easier floor. So we'll start you on first floor for your first couple nights, and then we'll move you to your regular assignment. You have any questions for me? Do you remember everything I just said? Okay. If I ask you in 4 hours, are you going to remember everything I just said? Yeah. Who are you meeting with? Good. Very good. Who are you shadowing? Good. Oh, you guys are good. If you take a notebook, you want to write it all down. Because what ends up happening is, even if you've got good short-term memory, by the time you get home, you're going to forget what you're wearing, where you're supposed to be, who you're supposed to be meeting with, what time you're supposed to be there. All these little details are going to get fuzzy, and there's no one to call to ask. If you call and talk to the receptionist, they're not going to have that information. So you really want that little notebook in your pocket that you can write everything down. Now, the real important thing to write down is what they're offering to pay. And this is why this happens, guys, in our community. This has happened way more times than I care to admit. They will offer you something in the interview, and then when you get to orientation, they give you a different rate.
Is that legal?
There's no contract. Now, if you write it in your notebook, right, and you say, oh, that's funny because the person I interviewed with said $20 an hour, $1 for shift differential, $1 more for weekends, and you show it to them, they can say, oh, let me go back and clarify that with them then. Otherwise, if you just say, that's not what I was told, they're going to go, well, that's the rate. Right. Now, it's not a contract, but it gives you better leveraging. Okay. They're more likely to take it seriously. Does that make sense?
You think there's nothing that got signed when we left that person when we walked away from them?
Probably not.
No.
Probably not. What's that? Yeah, just an interview. So you want to write this stuff down. It's not a contract. It's not going to hold up in court, but it does give you leveraging power. Okay. And it's important. And the people that do this, they get the rate that was discussed. Okay. If you don't have anything to push back with, now you're left with a choice. Well, you can stay and make $18 an hour, or you can leave and go find somewhere else to work. You want leverage. And that's all it is leverage. Okay. So you want a notebook with you. And yes, that has happened to some of my students. Yeah. Yeah, it does happen. Yeah. It's, some of it is miscommunication, because that person you interviewed with, if they didn't write it down, by the time they get to submitting your paperwork to human resources, they're making up a number and hoping you'll go along with it because they don't remember. Some of it is nefarious. They're offering you one thing, and then once you get in the door, they're trying to see if they can get you a little cheaper. Okay. I don't want any of that to happen to you. Write it down. All right. You should also take a packet with you. Now, remember I said you can't be hired if you aren't remembered. You guys remember that? Okay. Nothing to make you stand out. You're going to interview just as good as everybody else. You have no experience, just like everybody else. You're a face in a sea of faces. You're not going to be remembered, but this will help you with that. On the front of your packet, you should have a resume. So go to CareerSource, get your resume done. Absolutely. You also, no blue card, so disregard the blue card, but you can have a printout of your certification status. Remember that MQA website we talked about? You can put the printout in here to show that you are. Remember, they can't take the paper as gospel, but it does show them that you are certified. You should also have your CPR and first aid card, because most employers do require that. And any in-services that you've done that are relevant to this setting, you should have in there as well. Make this whole packet, because they need this to be able to hire you. These are all things that they need in your employee file. So if for some reason, let's say that I want to hire Russ, and I say, hey, Russ, I'd like to hire you, but I need for your employee file your CPR and first aid card, your, did you go to school anywhere? Did they give you a certification, certificate or anything? Do you have a resume? Do you have any in-services? Because I have to put all this in your employee file. Can you get it all together, get it over to human resources? Once they get it all checked in, your employee file is complete, they'll let me know and I'll schedule you for orientation. Or I can say, Nicole, do you want to start Monday? Which one would I do as the employer? The easy one. I'm going to do the one that's already prepared, that has everything, that's already handed it to me, and I can make an employee file for right now. There's no delay. She can start Monday. I got to wait for him to get all of his stuff together. Do you guys see how this makes it easy? But there's another reason for this. You can't be hired if you aren't remembered. So when you're in there interviewing, you took this packet in with you, you gave it to them. They glanced at it, they shook your hand, and they put it to the side of their desk. They're not going to pay attention to this right now. They've got you in front of them. We're going to have a conversation. I'm going to get to know you a little bit, figure out whether you're a good fit. So that packet that you made is on the corner of their desk. Not relevant right now at all. At the end of the day, they have interviewed you and you and you and you and you and you and you. They've interviewed, 6 or 8 people. At the end of the day, they're getting ready to go home and they're cleaning their desk off and they come across the packet. Oh, I remember this one. Yeah, she interviewed earlier today. Oh, this is nice. This is everything I need. Nice. You have now gone from lost in a sea of faces to remembered. That is why you want to pack it. Now, this isn't from me. This isn't from me. I owned the scrub shop, and we were the only scrub shop in the county. Everybody that's going to hire you, I have personally met face to face. I want you to think about that. Most of the people that are going to hire you sat in my classroom and got their start. I have been doing this for 20 years. The people that are going to hire you that are nurses and nurse managers, right now I've got somebody that just completed their doctorate in nursing that started right, not in this classroom, in my other classroom, but they all know me, guys. But more importantly, all of you, the hiring managers said, hey, you need to have your people make packets. You need to make it easy for us to hire them. So I started out, what do you need from them? And they would give me things that they need. Well, make sure they're bringing their CPR and first aid cards. It's amazing how many people aren't bringing those. Or make sure they have a resume. It's amazing. Nobody has a resume anymore. Or make sure that they have, this is where this came from. They told me to tell you what to take. So here you go. Take it. Okay. He's the one that really dealt with all of them. You want insider information. All right. So when you get into the interview, there's a couple things you want to do. You want to stand up straight. You want to make a good impression. You want to answer questions completely, but briefly. Respect their time. They're going to have some questions for you, but you're also going to need to ask some questions of them as well. Make sure you look at that list on page 176 and pick out some questions that you need to know. Some things that would be relevant are, do you offer in-services? Remember that continuing education? That would be a good question to ask. Is there a set schedule for this? How do you handle holidays? There are some places where the new people work all the holidays, period. You will not have Christmas off for the next 5 years. You will always work Christmas because you're a new person. And then there's other places that rotate holidays. So you might work Thanksgiving this year, but you'll have Christmas off. Or you'll work Christmas this year, but you'll have it off next year. You'll want to know how do they, because healthcare works 24 days a week, 7 days doesn't take off holidays. Okay. So make sure you're asking questions. Make sure you understand the job requirements. One of the big ones, what do I need to wear for this position? If you're working in mental health, jeans and a t-shirt. If you're working on the blood bus, they might give you a uniform. If you're working in a hospital, they have a specific color that you need to wear. You need to have that information. So make sure you're asking about uniform. Be prepared, be confident. You need to tell them why they need to hire you. Be confident. You might not have a lot of experience, but you still have some skills to bring to the table. Okay, we're going to go over that in just a second. And make sure that you can explain why you are a good choice for this position. If you go and you go, well, I don't know, I'm really new. I just took a CNA class, but I really don't know what I'm doing yet. Nobody's going to hire you. Jake, class 8 review sheets, please.
Yes, ma'am.
Nobody's going to hire you. If you don't have any confidence in yourself, why should I? So a better thing, I just completed a CNA class. I took my test. I got certified on the first attempt. I'm really excited about starting my career in healthcare. And while I might lack experience, I know that I will improve my speed and my skill set very quickly because I'm highly motivated. Right? That's a completely different way of explaining your lack of experience. Good? Confidence. When I was interviewing for a store clerk, I had one girl that literally would not look at me during the interview. Not at all. I mean, she sat there the whole time like this. And I really couldn't get her to talk much to me. Everything that I asked her, every question I asked her, she'd go, well, I don't know. I'm not sure. If I scare the crap out of you, my customers are going to eat you for lunch. So same thing with patients. If you don't have a certain level of confidence in yourself, nobody else is going to have any in you. So the best way to practice this, guys, is to practice. Practice. Get together with somebody, come up with some interview questions, interview them, and then let them interview you. Take notes. If you really want to take it up another notch, videotape it, because your perception of how you act is completely different than what's going to show up on that camera. You will pick up on things that you aren't aware of, like how many ums and uhs you use. You aren't aware of how many you use until you see it back on camera. So if you really want to improve your public speaking, videotape yourself. It's a great tool. And luckily, we all have a video camera right in our pocket that we can use. All right. So this is what we're going to talk about now. Jake just passed out Class 8 review sheets. I want you to turn them over. We're going to look at the back. During your interview, somebody is going to ask you, tell me a little bit about yourself. Now, what they're not looking for is your personal history. That has no bearing on this. They don't want to know that, mama and daddy got divorced when you were 5. Nobody cares. I'm sorry about your loss, but nobody cares. It's not relevant. What they want to know is, why should I hire you? That is what that question is. Tell me a little bit about yourself. That is a why should I care about you question. Now, a lot of people struggle with this. They don't know what to say, especially when you're brand new to the industry, because you don't have any experience to pull out and polish up and display, right? So what do you say here? Well, there's actually a formula that we can use to craft this statement. And it doesn't matter what your background is, this formula works. So the first thing that we need to know is what you have done in the past. So what is your past experience? Were you a server? Were you a customer service representative? Were you an accountant? Were you an over-the-road truck driver? What did you do before this? And it is relevant. You think it's not relevant, it's highly relevant. What did you do? Because when you did that, whatever it was, you developed some soft skills. So things like attention to detail, things like active listening, anticipating needs. So I have any servers in here? If you've ever been a server, you have anticipating needs. Because when you walk by a table, you automatically look at the cups. Automatically look at the cups. If a cup is half full or a little less than half full, what are you going to do? Refill it. That's right. And that's what's going to get you the tip. If somebody has to ask for a refill, tips go down by 10%. You learn this as a server. So anticipating needs is a skill that you have. If you've operated a cash register, if that cash register is short, it comes out of your paycheck. So you learn attention to detail pretty quick. You are going to count for every penny in, every penny out. You are not going to let that lackadaisical, whatever. Yeah, you're going to pay attention because every penny counts, right? Attention to detail. Wherever you worked, did you comply with the uniform policy? If you did, that's professionalism. How are you at communicating with others? If you worked in customer service, you are able to diffuse difficult situations. You learned conflict resolution. These are all skills you have. And you know what? Every one of them works in healthcare as well. So you need to go through this list and you need to find 3 traits that describe you. So you've got this on the back of your review sheet. go through and find 3 traits that describe you. Go ahead, circle them. Now me, I'm not going to put punctuality on mine. I suffer with time management problems. I know that about myself. So I'm not going to pick that one. But I will tell you without a shadow of a doubt that I have excellent organizational skills. This course should have seemed very well organized to you. Everything builds upon itself. I have great organizational skills. I have great teamwork skills. And I pay very close attention to detail. Those are 3 skills that I would absolutely pull off of that list to describe me. Now, once we know how to describe ourselves, we have to know why we decided to get into healthcare. Why are you here? Are you here because it offers an opportunity for advancement? Are you here because you've always wanted to work in healthcare and this is step 1? Are you here? Hi. Are you here because you are on a nursing track and you're trying to get some practical experience? Are you here because, why are you here? What made you decide to take a CNA class? You got to try to figure that out, right? Maybe it could be as simple as, I think a recession's coming and this is a stable work environment, right? Healthcare is always hiring and I got to be able to pay my bills. That's a very valid reason for taking the CNA class, but you got to figure out, why are you here? And then once we know that, so we know what we've done in the past, what soft skills we've gathered, why we're trying to get into healthcare, then I want 3 personality traits. What are some things that describe you? I'm honest. I'm dependable. I work well as part of a team. I have a great empathy. I'm dependable. Able to work on short notice. So what would make you an attractive applicant for this setting? I live 2 minutes from here. That's actually a good one. If you live 2 minutes from the facility, I know that I can call you on short notice and you might be able to get there quickly. If you live 2 hours away, yeah, that's going to be a little more of a problem. Doesn't disqualify you, but I wouldn't use it as your attribute. Good? Make sense? Now that we have that information, we can put it all together. What role you're coming out of, 3 soft skills you developed, why you want to work in healthcare, and 3 personality traits. And we use this to craft our tell me a little bit about yourself speech. So it would be something like, well, my past experience has been as a server, where I learned how to anticipate needs, how to work well as a team, and how to diffuse difficult situations. And I decided to take a CNA class because I really wanted a rewarding career where I could really make a difference and help others. So I enrolled in a CNA class, passed my test the first time, and I believe I would be a really good fit for your facility because I'm energetic, I'm honest, and I'm dependable. That's how you ace your interview, guys. That's how you ace your interview. But you've got to put this together and it's got to be specific to you. That's a whole lot different than saying, well, I was born in Virginia. I grew up in Florida. I'm really new at this. I don't know what to tell you. I'm not going to hire that person. Why would I hire that person when I've got somebody else who just told me the other thing?
How do you know which past job to use? Because you learn something different from every job. So it's I've had so many different jobs. I don't know which one to name.
Most recent is probably the best, or the one that you think gave you the most positive attributes. Either one of those. So, and you can say something like, well, I've had a varied work history. I worked as a housekeeper. I've worked in customer service. I've worked as a server. And in all of those roles, I developed these traits. You don't want to make it a resume. What we're focusing on here is the traits that we developed, not the roles that we had. Okay, good. This is a shortcut, guys. This is something I developed, this formula, and it works. It works. All right, so after the interview, you really should send a thank you note. Right, so before you, at the end, before you give your attributes, you can say, while I may lack experience, I believe I would be a good fit for this position because. Yeah. You should send a thank you note. Now, every interview I've ever had, I have done this. Thank you notes stay in my car. Go to Dollar Tree, get 10 thank you notes for $1.25. Fill them out before you go. Just don't put the name of the person you interviewed with. Just put dear, leave it blank. And then your thank you note should say something like, thank you for the opportunity to interview with you today. Please don't hesitate to contact me if you have any questions, or I enjoyed our conversation, or I look forward to hearing from you. Anything like that. And then sincerely, your name. Put it in the envelope. Make sure the envelope is already addressed. The only thing you should have to put on the card is the name of the person that you interviewed with and on the envelope. Everything else should be done. Should have a stamp on it. Ready to go. So when you leave the interview, you go to your car, you get a pen and you write down the name of the person that you interviewed with in the card on the envelope. You go straight to the post office and drop it in the blue box. If you do that, that card will show up on their desk the next day. Do not send an email. My inbox, Jake could pull it up right now. I'm at probably about 1,100 emails in my inbox in the last 4 days. I have not gone through my emails. I've got things to do. They can wait. Emails will get you nowhere. An email is more work. But, oh, I don't have it here. You send me a card in the mail. What did I do last class? This was somebody that sent me a card, had a stamp on it and everything. They went out of their way to do that. I'm going to pay attention to that. You can't be hired if you aren't remembered. You leave a packet and you send a thank you card, you will get the job. Because if you're working this hard to get my attention, you might actually show up if I hire you. Yeah, ghosting is a thing, guys. Happens all the time. So I'm going to go with the person who seems like they most want to be here. These are things that tell me you've put some effort in. Especially if you show up wearing the right color scrubs. I might hire you on the spot. You want to start now? Yeah. Yeah, where do I clock in? Yeah, give me your employment forms. I'll sign. Let's go. Okay. How bad do you want to work? I mean, it really is that simple. How bad do you want the job? Put some effort in. All right, so let's talk about PRN positions. We're almost done. I know I've been a little long. Let's talk about PRN positions. This is not an on-call positions. Most positions in medicine will be offered to you as a PRN position. PRN means as needed. This is not an on-call position. You're going to tell them when you're able to work. They're going to put you on the schedule if they have an opening that matches your availability. But the reason that almost every position is going to be a PRN position to start with is all because of employability. Florida is an at-will work state, a right-to-work state, which means that I can hire you or fire you for any reason. I might not like the way you look, and I can fire you. It's fine. It's within my rights to do as an employer, but that also gives you the right to go to an employment attorney and sue me. So in order to cover myself as an employer, to fire you, I have to go through a lot of hoops. We've got to do some verbal warnings. We've got to do some corrective actions. We've got to do some written warnings. We've got to do some disciplinary actions. There's a whole list of things I got to do to get rid of a bad worker. It's hard to do in healthcare. And in the meantime, I got bad workers taking care of patients and putting my patients at risk. Something goes wrong, that patient's going to turn around and sue me. That's a problem. It's a big problem in healthcare. So how do I get rid of my bad workers quickly without having to go through hoops? So they're not putting my patients at risk and I'm at risk of a lawsuit. How do I do that? Well, I hire everybody as a PRN worker. PRN means as needed. You tell me I'm available 7 days a week, and I say, okay, I've got Tuesday through Friday, 3 to 11. You want it? And you say, yeah, I'll take it. So I've got you on the schedule, Tuesday through Friday, 3 to 11. If I don't like you or the work you're doing, or I feel like you're putting everything in jeopardy, I'm not going to put you on next week. And I'm just going to say, I'm sorry, I don't have anything for you. Check back. Check back. Check back. And I'm never going to have anything for you, but I didn't fire you. Do you guys understand how the game is played? PRN is an extended interview. It's a paid interview. They're going to put you on the schedule, and as long as you work out, they're going to keep putting you on the schedule. And eventually, they'll offer you that full-time position once it becomes available. PRN has some benefits to it. First of all, you don't ever have to worry about them not approving vacation time because you are PRN. You can tell them, I'm not available for these 2 weeks. So those of you that like to travel, PRN is your way to go. It also offers a higher wage. They always offer PRN positions a higher wage because you're not going to get benefits. So if health insurance is important to you, PRN is not your way to go. But if you need more money because you're getting your own health insurance, PRN is a great option. Okay, so they save money on benefits and they pass some of that on to you as a higher wage. Now, if you are a PRN employee and you aren't getting put on the schedule, I would start seriously looking at your performance because there's something there that they don't like. Could be personality conflicts. It's probably it, realistically. Could be the way that you're dealing with patients. It could be your skill level. It could be your speed. It could be clicks and you're just not, the scheduler likes somebody else better. That's a possibility. But I would look at my own performance just to see, is there an opportunity for improvement here? Good. You guys have gotten a lot of insider secrets today. All right. So just because you're leaving us doesn't mean we're leaving you. You still have the online course. You have 4YourCNA, which has the animated lessons and the skills videos. You have the classroom worksheets. You have your skills book. You have a ton of opportunities. Remember, next Tuesday, I'm doing a live game show as well. Class doesn't end today, even though class ends today. You also have the live stream reviews that you can watch at any time. Practice test on page 191 gives you a really good indication of how you're going to do on the written test that the state is going to give you. Anybody take this yet? Did anybody miss more than 5? Those of you that have taken it, did you miss more than 5? If you take this practice test and you miss more than 5, you need to contact me because something went sideways. My students should not miss more than 5. If you miss 5 or less on my test, you will pass the written. Yeah. I've never had a student sit in my class, listen to everything that I've had to say, take this practice test, miss less than 5, and fail the written test. Never happened. Do not be the first. Practice kits. If you aren't going to be practicing in here, this is a great way for you to get the tools you need to practice at home. It has a gate belt. It has the drainage bag. It has the graduate container. It has dentures. It has a denture brush and a toothette and a toothbrush and chucks and gloves and a bedpan and an emesis basin and a wash basin. Everything you need. It even has a privacy blanket. Everything you need to practice in any setting is here. Through today, so this ends today for you guys, this is only $49.99. After today, it goes up to whatever it is on the website, which I think is $67.99. We also have flashcards, the card game, and you still have access to the online course. Game show next Tuesday, and now I need your books. So yellow book will go here on the table for me.
You will always have access to your stuff, right? Or do you kick us out after a little while?
The online course is the only thing you have limited access to, and you still have a year. You have a year for that. But everything else that I have is all free. It's all free to everybody. So yeah. Like your classroom live stream, the replay, you can watch that 20 years from now.
I like that Cotton's one. I was hoping that hold on to it for vacation.
All right. Give me just 1 second, guys. I got to check these off. All right, Jake, you want to come?
Maybe take a look at the back.
Yeah, if you would. I don't see 2.
Which one are you looking for?
Why 2? Is Jacob here? No, okay, that's why. All right. Okay. All right, I'm going to call your name. When I call your name, I want you to come up and get your folder. Don't open the folders until everybody has theirs. That way I only have to do it once. All right, here we go. Kaylee, come on down. You're the first contestant. Congratulations. Annalise. Congratulations. Nicole. Congratulations. David. Congratulations. Ranisha. Congratulations. Michaela? Congratulations. Shayanti? Did I say that right? Shayanti? Shiante? Sorry.
I go by Oriana.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, that's why. Okay. Oriana, there you go. Julie? Congratulations. Elizabeth? I know it's cold in here. Congratulations. Russell? Congratulations. Gabriella? Congratulations. Isabella? Congratulations. Medina? Congratulations. Yes, Jake can help you with that. You're welcome. All right, everybody have your folder. I miss you. What's your name? Oh, sorry. Congratulations. All right, everybody got your folder? Go ahead and open it up. All right, you can see a certificate of completion. This is suitable for framing, but nothing else. It does not make you a CNA. It does not prove education because remember, this is a test prep program. So it doesn't do anything, but it might get you a free lunch from somebody at home. So, you know, there is that. And then the other flyer in there says, congratulations, we mean that. It has some next steps for you. You guys are able to use me as a professional reference. So whenever you go apply for jobs, you can use me as a professional reference. And my email address is at the top of the syllabus. All right, so we're going to go ahead and sign off of online. So thank you guys so much for joining us. Our next class session will start October 13th. And we'll start again from class 1 and go all the way through with a brand new group. And we'd love to invite you to join us. And remember, Tuesday is the game show. So we hope to see you there. Until next time, happy caregiving. Happy October. Bye.